Good morning. I will call to order this public meeting of the Arapahoe County Board of County Commissioners for December 10th, 2019. To my left is County Attorney Ron Carl. To my far right is Jolene Sanchez, Clerk to the Board Administrator. Good morning, Ms. Sanchez.
Good morning.
Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Conti?
Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Sharp?
Here.
Commissioner Holland?
Here.
Commissioner Baker?
Here.
Commissioner Jackson? Excuse me.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Jackson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. Please join me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda this morning?
There are no modifications.
If the commissioners would like to make any comments, or I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Holden. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. This is the time that we've set aside to have citizens address the Board of County Commissioners on any topic. If there are any citizens here to address any of the items under our general business items, we will call for public comment at that time. But this is for anything that's not on the agenda. We would invite citizens to speak to the commissioners. There will be a 3-minute time limit per person. And we have some lights up here in the front, a yellow and a red light. The yellow light will come on when the speaker has 30 seconds left, and the red light will come on when you've used the entire 3-minute time limit. So are there any citizens that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners this morning? If you'll make yourselves known. If not, you sure? Okay. Then I will close the public comment period. And we have one set of minutes to approve. These are the public meeting minutes from October 29th, 2019. We had a full board. Are there any questions or comments from any commissioners about those?
Here, I will move to approve the minutes of October 29th, 2019.
Motion made by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. We have a number of items on our consent agenda this morning. The commissioners have been provided information in their packets about those items. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Holland, seconded by Commissioner Conti. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you very much. We do have a number of items on our general business agenda this morning. Seems like all of them are finance related. So the first item, item number 7A, is the public hearing for the adoption of the 2020 budget and certification of mill levies. I know we have another public hearing on certification of mill levies, but this is for our budget and our mill levies. Our presenter this morning will be Todd Weaver, the budget manager, and our attorney on this matter is John Christopherson, the deputy county attorney. Good morning, Mr. Christopherson.
Good morning.
Would you please lay the foundation for us?
Yes. Pursuant to state statute, the county, the Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority, the Arapahoe County Recreation District, and the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District are required to adopt their budgets by December 15th of each year, only after published notice of the budgets and after a public hearing. The record should reflect that notice of the proposed 2020 budgets was published in the October 24, 2019 edition of the Villager newspaper. The board held a public hearing on October 29th, 2019 that was continued until today. Therefore, this board, and acting as the ex officio board of the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District, has jurisdiction to consider the 2020 budgets.
Thank you, Mr. Christopherson. Good morning, Mr. Weaver.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Mr. Christopherson just said, before you there are 17 resolutions to adopt and appropriate the budgets for Arapahoe County, the Arapahoe County Recreation District, the Arapahoe County Law Enforcement Authority, and the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District. The budgets before you that are included in those resolutions are balanced and in conformance with Colorado law, including the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, also known as TABOR. The general fund operating budget, per instruction from the Board of County Commissioners and the budget guidance, is structurally balanced and in conformance with our county budget preparation and control policy. Per Colorado local government budget law, the budget must be adopted and mill levy certified by December 15th of each year, and this public hearing meets that deadline. Just a quick overview of some of the main points of the 2020 budgets before you. The total revenue across all of the county's funds is $419.6 million. That's a 6.5% increase over 2019's adopted budget. In the general fund, that's $201 million. The operating portion of that, the ongoing revenue, at $199.4 million. On the expense side, $430.3 million. Once again, almost a 6.5% increase. In the general fund, $209.9 million is the total budget. On an operating basis, the ongoing expenses are $198.9 million. Total staffing is 2,273.4 full-time equivalent positions. That is up 29.5 positions from 2019. And in the general fund, where 2/3 of the staffing for the county is located, we're at 1,349.15 full-time equivalents. That is up 14 from prior year. Right now, we would project the ending 2020 general fund balance to be just over $51 million, or $51.4 million. That includes almost an $8.9 million use of the general fund balance. Most of that one-time use of fund balance is to transfer to the capital expenditure fund for capital projects and the cost of running the 3 elections during 2020. Finally, the mill levy we're looking at for 2020 to certify today for the county purposes is 11.685 mils. That's below the 15.821 maximum allowable mill levy under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. That means that we'll be extending a 4.22 mil temporary tax credit in 2020. That includes a small TABOR refund from 2019 for a slight overcollection due to the change in the rate of inflation at the end of last year. Our capital improvement budget is $10.3 million. Looking at the structurally balanced status of the general fund operating budget, as of right now, for the adopted budget, we're looking at a $491,000 surplus on an operating basis in the general fund. Therefore, ongoing revenues exceed ongoing expenses by that $532. That $8.8 or $8.9 million use of fund balance includes those capital projects and the election costs. And as a point of reference, prior year surpluses in our operating budget in 2019, that surplus was $2.1 million. But you can see as you go back toward 2015, those surpluses became smaller and in the neighborhood of what our surplus is for the 2020 budget. Looking specifically at the general fund budget, the first column in this chart shows the requested budget. The middle column shows the recommended budget as presented to the Board of County Commissioners on October 15th and again on October 22nd in study sessions and public hearings. The highlighted column is the current, what is proposed to be the adopted budget for 2020. You can see the budget projects starting the year with $60.3 million in fund balance. When you look at that $201 million in revenue offset by the $209, almost $210 million in expenses, the fund balance should decline to about $51.4 million by year end. But on an operating basis, $199.4 in revenue offset by $198.9 in expenses leaves us with $491,000 surplus from an operating basis. Looking at other significant funds, the Social Services Fund has a $1.4 million deficit in their 2020 budget. They begin the year with a $9.5 million fund balance, leaving them with $8 million by the end of 2020 if everything is collected and spent as proposed. That is still $5.6 million in excess of their policy reserve for that fund. The Law Enforcement Authority Fund saw a dramatic increase in their property tax revenue for 2020 with the increase in assessed value within the unincorporated area of the county, as we saw countywide as well. Their budget is $9.3 million in revenue, offset by $9.5 million in expense. A little bit of that deficit is one-time cost for replacement of the patrol laptops. That happens once every 4 years, as well as vehicles and equipment for 3 new patrol officers that were added to the Law Enforcement Authority. The Road and Bridge Fund has a $15.7 million revenue budget and a $17.3 million expense budget. Some of that expense budget leading to that $1.5 million deficit includes a heavy equipment replacement for 2020, as well as additional requested pavement maintenance funding that was put into the 2020 budget. The important thing in the Road and Bridge Fund to note is that that $1.5 million use of fund balance reduces their fund balance from $4.2 million down to $2.6 million, which equals the amount we need to have for the policy reserve for the Road and Bridge Fund. So future budget years for the Road and Bridge Fund will have to take that into account and make adjustments to remain at or above that policy reserve. Capital Expenditure Fund can only spend what it is given in $4.9 million in tax revenue plus a $5.5 million transfer from the general fund. We'll talk about those projects again here in a moment. The Recreation District, its levy will generate $1.4 million and is offset by $1.4 million in expense. And then the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District. There's a revision to this budget from the last time you saw it. Tomorrow we'll be selling bonds to refinance the 2009 debt. The 2019 series debt will enable us to have a lower revenue into the budget. We will not need the federal incentives for the BABS bonds that were issued in 2009. And therefore, the expense side is also lowered $8.6 million. So some changes late in the budget session for the Public Improvement District due to the refinancing of that debt. Looking briefly at the capital improvement projects, the largest allocation of funding in 2020 is for improvements along the Isle Avenue corridor. There's also the construction of a large courtroom and courthouse too for $1.8 million, and then further contributions to the E470 ramp, at Quincy Avenue, and the reconfiguration of that intersection are the three largest projects there. The total amount of projects for this year is $10,338,000. Other significant funds in the budget. The Development Disability Fund last year was about $10.5 million in revenue. This year was close to $12.2 million. That reflects that near 16 or 17% growth in the assessed value from 2019 through 2020. It has a fixed $1 million levy, therefore it just rides with whatever the assessed value does. The Arapahoe County Fair, that's the fund that funds the annual county fair. It had a better year in 2019 than in prior years, so that budget is being increased on the revenue side and the expense side. And then finally, the Self-Insurance Liability Fund. Due to the change in some of the carriers for our liability insurance, there was an increase in that funding required for 2020 as well. The original budget was around $1 million. We had to increase that to $1.4 million for 2020. Finally, looking at the property tax levies for 2020, the highlighted section here shows the 2020 levy and the 2020 revenue as in contrast to the earlier columns, which are the 2019 and the 2019 levy and revenue. You can see for the county funds, the General Fund, Social Services Fund, Road and Bridge, and Capital Expenditure Fund, the levy will decline from 13.3 mils to 11.685 mils. That is due to the increase in the temporary tax credit to prevent us from over-collecting under Tabor and also allowing us to refund about $700,000 in over-collections from the 2019 tax year. You can see the assessed value grew by 16.4%, bringing us to $12.1 billion in assessed value. Moving down that list, $1 million for the Development Disability, as I said, brings in about 12.2 versus 10.5 last year. The Law Enforcement Authority Fund is about $1.3 million year over year. The Recreation District is also limited by the provisions of Tabor, so their revenue is relatively the same year over year. And then the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District, that mill levy will drop from 14.4 to just under 12.6 mils as a result of the increase in the assessed value as well as some benefit from the refunding of that 2009 debt. That is all I have for this morning regarding the 2020 budget. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns, I'll be happy to address those at this time.
Questions for Mr. Weaver? No, I think we're good. Thank you. I have to open for public comment first. So, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners on the topic of approving our 2020 budget, no one did sign up to speak on any of our public hearings this morning. So, is there anyone here that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners on the budget? Seeing none, I will close public comment and ask for commissioner comments, questions, or motions.
So I know it's been a really rough year to come up with a good balanced budget. So I appreciate your work and all the work of some of your staff that's here. It's just a tough year. So thank you for your hard work. And there's a bunch of motions here. So I'll just do them. You want me to do them all together, I think, right?
Well, that's for each section. So before the Arapahoe County, you would move to adopt the 7, and then it would
Right,
be for the law enforcement.
so vote each one. Okay. So I move to adopt the 7 resolutions approving and adopting the 2020 budget, certifying the mill levies and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That motion carries.
Shall I keep going?
Unless someone else would like to make any of the additional motions. I know
One.
is your voice okay?
Yeah. I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2020 budget, certifying the mill levy and appropriating the funds for Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That motion carries.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2020 budget, certifying the mill levy and appropriating funds for the Arapahoe County Recreation District.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That motion carries.
Acting as the official board of the district, I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2020 budget, certifying the mill levy and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries.
I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the chair to sign the 2020 certification of tax levy forms.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Conti. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. And we'll move on to the next one, which give me a few seconds here to get to the right location. $182. Okay. Yeah. Apologize. There we go. This is going to be item 7B on our general business items. This is the adoption of the third quarter supplemental appropriation resolutions. And again, our presenter is Todd Weaver. Our attorney is John Christofferson, Deputy County Attorney. Would you lay the foundation for this public hearing, please?
Yes,
That's not Todd.
That's not Todd. That'll be Leanna Quinn.
Okay.
We had it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right.
Pursuant to state statute, once the county has adopted its annual budget, the board may transfer appropriate monies between funds or between spending agencies within a fund, or if unanticipated revenues are received, the board may elect a supplemental budget and appropriation, only after notice of the transfer and or supplemental appropriation has been published. The record should reflect that notice of 28 amendments to the 2019 budget was published in the December 5th, 2019 issue of the Villager newspaper. Therefore, the board has jurisdiction to consider these 28 amendments to the 2019 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Christopherson. Good morning, Leanne. I'm sorry.
No problem. Good morning, commissioners. I have for you, as Mr. Christopherson said, 28 supplemental requests to make amendments to the 2019 budget. I'm going to briefly review some of them, and if you have any questions on anything as I go or anything that's in your packet, just let me know. There's a request to transfer $40,000 from the general fund admin services to general fund communications admin services for the census funding. Transfer of $97,735 from Central Services Information Technology Department to be recognized and appropriated in the general fund for video conferencing replacement. This will be to retire assets to cover that cost. There's a transfer of $60,000 from the general fund information technology to be recognized and appropriated in the Central Services Fund to purchase 2 virtual servers. There's a request to reduce the revenue and expenditure budget in the general fund sheriff's office by $649,000 to match the actual Centennial IGA billings after the additional positions were approved by the city in March. There's a request to transfer $376,603 from the Rec District Fund into the Open Spaces Fund. This is for the active elements portion of the design of the Dove Valley Regional Park project that the Rec District cannot fund. And we did have one item that was added after the study session that we had on the 19th. And this was for emergency repairs for the water line replacement into the admin building. So it is a request to appropriate $145,000 from the unappropriated building maintenance fund balance. There's a request to recognize and appropriate $280,000 in the general fund sheriff's office for funds received from Cherry Creek schools for the school resources program. Recognize and appropriate $239,023 in the general fund district attorney's office for the 2019-20 gray and black marijuana enforcement grant. Recognize and appropriate $156,700 in the fair fund, open spaces, for additional revenue received at the fair this year to cover the additional expenses. And finally, recognize and appropriate $391,206 in the infrastructure fund for the revenue received from Senate Bill 19262 for the Jolly Road Bridge project. So overall, this results in a decrease in the general fund expenditure budget of $509,555, an increase to open space sales tax revenue and expenditures of $376,000, and overall the new revenue and budget cleanup is $2.1 million. With that, are there any questions on the third quarter?
Questions for Ms. Quinn? Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. This is a public hearing, so I will open up for public comment. Is there anyone that would like to address the board about the 28 supplemental appropriation requests? Seeing none, close public comment. Any commissioner comments or motions?
Commissioner Sharp. Make the motion. I move to adopt the 28 supplemental appropriation requests to the 2019 budget that were presented to the board at the third quarter budget review study session on November 19th and brought forward for today's public hearing for formal adoption. And I'll ask for a second.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Conti. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you very much. The last item on our general business agenda is the certification of tax levies for cities, towns, school districts, and special districts for fiscal year 2020. Again, Leanna Quint will be our presenter, and our county attorney is John Christopherson. Excuse me. Mr. Christopherson, would you please lay the foundation?
Yes, this item has been noticed as required by the Open Meetings Law, and the board has jurisdiction to move to proceed.
Thank you very much. Good morning again.
Good morning. Pursuant to state statute, the Board of County Commissioners shall certify the mill levies for cities, towns, and school districts and special districts that are within Arapahoe County for next year, for year 2020. Cities, towns, and special districts have until December 15th to submit their mill levies to us, and then we have until December 22nd to submit those to the assessor. There are about 446 total districts, including districts, cities, schools, and then our county mill levies. As you can see, the reso has no information in it, and we'll insert that after we've received everything on the 15th. That does fall on a Sunday this year, so we will be following up with everybody Monday after we haven't received information from them on Friday.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? If not, this is again a public hearing. I will open up for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners on these 3 resolutions to certify the tax levies for our cities, towns, and school districts, special districts? If not, then I will close public hearing and ask for a motion from commissioners.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Conti.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions to certify the tax levies for cities and towns, schools, districts, and special districts within Arapahoe County for the fiscal year 2020, pursuant to 39-1-111 and 39-5-128, the Colorado Revised Statutes.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Sharp. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you very much for your presentations this morning. Are there any commissioner comments this morning? Oh, no. Commissioner Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo the comments of Commissioner Jackson concerning the hard work that our budget and finance people did in putting this together. As many of you realize, we are constantly faced with the problem of lack of adequate revenues to be able to manage effectively and efficiently our requirements as county commissioners. And it's the burden of finding where the money is and where the money isn't weighs heavily on the shoulders of our financial staff. And I just want to acknowledge the hard work and commitment that the finance staff does in terms of dealing with this revenue shortage. And I just personally, and I know all commissioners feel the same way, that we want to thank you, Todd, and your staff for the hard work that you do. This next year is going to be a challenge for all of us, and I just want to thank you for the work and commitment that your staff does to making sure this county operates on a balanced and fiscally efficient budget.
Commissioner Sharp.
Before I make a statement, I ditto. I totally agree. You all always do such a great job, and all year, and then bringing it to the point that we are today and helping us get to good budget that our citizens can be very proud of the work that you all do. So thank you very much. I just wanted to mention that next Sunday, and that's December 15th, is the Bill of Rights Day, which celebrates the 228th anniversary of the ratification of the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights, those are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, and they give citizens more confidence gave more confidence to citizens of a new government, and contain many of the most valued freedoms that we have in this country. So I just want to encourage everybody to better understand the Bill of Rights, and I know that is something that I've talked to Boy Scout groups about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and I wish we taught more civics in our schools today. I think it would benefit all of our citizens as individuals as they grow up, young people, and as they grow up to be citizens and to vote and to understand their civic responsibilities. So just wanted to mention that today.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. Commissioner Conti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would just add to that, as I studied history, one of the things that I found fascinating was the fact that the framers were hesitant to establish the Bill of Rights because of their fear that people would assume that that was where their rights were limited to. They spoke of our inalienable rights, those rights that are given to us by the divine, not by man. And they did not want us to think that our rights were limited to those 10 items. And that's where a little bit of hesitation came from the framers in establishing the Bill of Rights. And just as a reminder, from some of the notes of the meetings of the days of the time and of our framers, that we should never fear that our rights are limited to those 10 items as they are established, at least the rights given by the divine.
Any additional commissioner comments? Okay, I just wanted to recognize that we do have a citizen here. And so I just wanted to make sure that your needs were being met in addressing us. We do have a meeting over next door right at 10. So if you wanted to address the Board of County Commissioners, this would be the time to do it. Come up to the front. If you would please give your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Dennis Lisby. I live at 3074 South Truckee Street in Aurora. The Ninth Amendment in the Bill of Rights clarifies the concern that was evident in the adoption of the Bill of Rights, in that it appeared to give an itemization of our rights. And the Ninth Amendment clarifies that all of the rights are retained by the people, and not just the ones listed in the Bill of Rights and other places in the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Lisby. We appreciate it. If there are no additional comments, we are adjourned.